Alright everybody, welcome to iBluairJgR. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're still in Final Fantasy XIV, but instead of doing an overview or impressions video, I'm just going to play the game and chat about some things. I'm certainly not getting bored of doing impressions and overviews of the different jobs in the game, but I'm also interested in bringing you guys something a little bit different so it doesn't get so monotonous, because for the last month and a half, that's all that's been coming out on the channel. So for today, I'm going to go through the leveling process, probably just going to do a bunch of fates, but I'm also going to chat about something that I think is kind of interesting, and that is the leveling process in Final Fantasy XIV. So the first thing we're going to do, because this is very important, is we're going to change the way our character looks, because I don't like this armor, and if you look ugly while you're leveling, I'm pretty sure that makes it take longer. So I'm going to go mess around with my glamour for a little bit, and then once I get my character looking all pretty, then we can go start killing some stuff, and I will start rambling about the leveling process in FF14. Well, this is slightly problematic. I've used all 15 of my glamour plates, so I'm going to have to delete one. That's fine. Okay, I have my glamour situated. I feel a lot better about the way my character looks. The Snake Leech Scale Mail is my favorite armor set in the game for the Dragoon, so I'm going to be rocking this for a while. But before we head out, there's one more thing I gotta do, and that is put materia in my armor. So I'm gonna do that, and then we can really get started with the meat and potatoes. We're good to go. I've got my materia slotted. I've got my glamour set. Let's get into it. I'm going to grind fates in Kalusia for a little while. There's currently one up, and it's gonna be up for 9 more minutes. So let's teleport over there and start killing some stuff. Now, leveling in Final Fantasy XIV, is it good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? If I thought it was bad, I wouldn't be able to level so many different jobs and do impressions on them, because it does take a pretty considerable amount of time to level up each individual job. But the good thing about FF14 is they make it easier for you the second time around. So for leveling my second, third, fourth, and fifth character, things get a lot easier. And this, I can contrast it with a game like Destiny 2, where every time you make a new character, you have to go through the entire story mode again, and it's long, it's grueling, and it's kind of painful, and it's a little bit annoying. I remember when the Curse of Osiris DLC came out. Oh, I'm doing my rotation super wrong because I haven't played Dragoon for a long time. I don't even remember what all the buttons are. I think that's a thing. Well, that's fine. Anyway, I remember when the Curse of Osiris DLC came out for Destiny 2, and I was excited to play it. You know, I got on my main character, which was my warlock, and I started going through the story. The story was a little bit bland, but you know, it is what it is. It's not everything can be great. But after I beat it, it took about 3.5 hours, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But I immediately remembered that I'm gonna have to do it again for my second and third character, for my Titan and for my Hunter. And that's a really bad feeling, because they don't give you any bonuses, whereas in Final Fantasy XIV, they give you bonus experience. Once you've reached max level the first time, you gain additional experience on all of your subsequent characters, or subsequent classes, I should say. You know, that little bit of extra experience, it's like the developers admitting that, yeah, we want you to keep playing, and we want you to get through the leveling process a little bit faster the second time around, because we know that the end game is where you want to live. The leveling dungeons are enjoyable, and they have unique elements to them, but they know the end game is where players want to live. And if you look at some of the different jobs, you know, if you take, like for me, I take the warrior to max level first every time. And if you do that, and then you see, hey, this other job looks really cool, you don't want to have to spend an eternity trying to level up that other class that looks cool. You kind of just want to get to max level as quickly as possible after you've done it one time. And that little bit of extra experience that they give you, I believe it starts at 100%, and once you hit level 70, you get 50% bonus experience. It helps. It helps a lot. But There is one thing that's always kind of bothered me about FF14 and the way the game is structured, and that is the overworld environment. That's where we are right now. We're just in the open world. We're killing guys. We're doing fates or public events or world events, whatever you want to call them, and we're chilling. I'm pretty brain dead right now. I'm making the dodo more extinct than it already is. And there's really no threat to my safety when I'm in the overworld like this. And that's always been something that I've thought is unfortunate about the way Final Fantasy XIV is designed. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. I failed horribly. But because the overworld is so brain dead easy, it's a little bit disappointing. And it feels like the only time I can really be challenged is when I go into dungeons and when I go into expert trials and raid environments, where sometimes it's kind of nice to be in a game where the open world challenges you a little bit. Because coming from someone that used to play Final Fantasy XI, the open world was dangerous. If you were in the open world and you aggroed on an enemy and you weren't prepared to fight it, you're gonna die. If you didn't have your friends with you, if you didn't have a healer, you're probably gonna die. And that sense of threat and the sensation that, okay, I need to be prepared for everything, even when I'm just killing random dodos, it doesn't exist in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't necessarily think it needs to, but that idea has been a staple of a lot of the other MMOs that I've engaged with, including Final Fantasy XI, Ion, Rift, Wildstar, Terra Online. The list goes on. So we completed that fate. We're going to go fly over to another one. Shadow over still Shadow over still tied. Oof. If you didn't know before, you're going to very soon learn that I have trouble reading stuff. But this fate over here is going to give us an EXP bonus, which is nice. So let's go ahead and teleport to it. But I say that all about the overworld and it being mostly non-threatening. It's really never anything that you have to concern yourself with. I don't necessarily think Final Fantasy needs to add a challenging overworld where you have elite enemies that give the same level of challenge as dungeon enemies or something to that effect, because there's so many ways to level up already and so many things for players to do on a daily basis that adding more to that is probably not even necessary. I just realized I don't have, oh my gosh, things are attacking me. I don't have Bloodbath and Second Wind and Arm's Length on my, oh, I do have Second Wind. Well, whatever. And I want to have those on my hotbar just in case I end up dying. So we'll do that. I'm trying to just remember where I put all my buttons now. And I'm failing miserably. Don't worry, I'll get good at it eventually. This is part of what you guys don't see when you watch the impressions videos and my overviews. You're seeing me after I've spent a lot of hours figuring out how to play something. So the gameplay, it's never perfect because I don't get to spend as much time with a job as I would like to. Because I never reached the level of someone who mains a particular job, but I get proficient enough with the different jobs that I do impressions of and overviews with that I don't look like a complete asshole while I'm playing through them. But right now, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons and it's kind of embarrassing. But that's kind of the point right now. And I just realized that whole time when I was doing my AoE attacks on those guys, I didn't have a damage buff applied to myself. So that's got to be something to keep in mind for the future. Oh my gosh. I'm just pressing the wrong buttons. I'm doing my combos wrong. I can't get it out. That one. There we go. Oh, this is horrible. Okay. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got it. I'm back. I had to regain my focus a little bit. So where was I? I don't necessarily think that Final Fantasy XIV needs to add a more challenging overworld, but it is something that I miss from other RPGs. Just going out and meat grinding on random enemies that are minding their own business, just doing whatever their programming tells them to do. It's something that I miss. Another thing that I desperately miss from Final Fantasy XI is having enemies in the open world that feel rare and drop special items. But I don't know if something like that would even work in a game like this. So, you know, like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the structure of Final Fantasy, especially with its leveling, because after I kill this stupid little goblin, I'm gonna look at all the different ways that you can level up. So I'm gonna beat this, and then we're gonna look at some things. There we go. We got 500,000 experience for that. And I just realized there's another thing that's missing from my hotbar, and that, okay, well, let's run away from these guys first. Goodbye. There's another skill missing from my hotbar, and that is True North. So let's put that there, and I'm gonna have to change these a lot. So there's a lot of different ways to level up in Final Fantasy. If we go to the Duty Finder, you see that we have the Duty Roulette for level 50, 60, 70 dungeons, the Leveling Roulette, the Trials Roulette, the Main Scenario Roulette, the Guildhest Roulette, which is kind of pointless, and the Alliance Raids, as well as the normal raids. Normal raids are kind of pointless as well. They don't give that great of a return on EXP versus time. But with the exception of these two, there are a lot of different activities that you can engage with on a daily basis that will help you progress towards maximum level. But they serve as a way to break up the monotony, right? Because if we go over to the dungeon list, there is one dungeon every 2 levels, level 71, 73, 75, 77, 79. And then you're max level once you hit 80. A lot of the times, I end up grinding a lot of dungeons, especially when I play tanks. I play almost exclusively dungeons to level up. But when I'm playing on a DPS, I like to break up the monotony a little bit more, so I'll go in and I'll do the leveling roulette. I'll do the 50, 60, 70 dungeons, and that allows me to engage with the same basic content. I'm still just killing things and stabbing stuff with my stick, but I'm doing it in a different environment, so it doesn't feel boring. The boss fights are a little different. The encounters, they change. And all that variety makes things feel good, you know, because even when you're going through the leveling process, you're not just meat grinding, and that can be kind of a problem that you get in other MMOs and other RPGs, where when you are leveling up your second, third, and fourth character, you are just kind of meat grinding and mindlessly killing enemies, and there aren't these alternative pathways that can get you there. Because one of my favorite things to do to break up the monotony of leveling is to do a Trials Roulette, and that puts you in an 8-man boss fight, and at the end of it, you get about 10 to 15% of your level, sometimes a little bit more. Oh my gosh, go! You know what? Let's kill all of this stuff. So I changed my instance to instance 3, and the experience bonus fate that I did already is still here, so we're gonna do it again. But this time, before I start doing my area attacks, I'm going to put a damage buff on myself. So I'm going to hit a little bit harder. But with that said, the mindless meat grind... Oh, that's what's wrong. The mindless meat grinding is kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm grinding through fates. And I suppose the point that I'm trying to get at here is that I wish there was an environment outside of dungeons, outside of trials and raids and things, that you could engage with while you're leveling up, that felt like an environment in which my skills would be put to the test. But there is no environment like that in Final Fantasy XIV, and I don't know that there's even room for an environment like that to exist. And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Oh, you know, I should probably use True North on these guys when I'm trying to use my full combo, so I get more damage out. But little stuff like that, though, isn't necessary in the overworld of Final Fantasy XIV because it's so easy. I can kill stuff without doing an optimal rotation. And stuff will die quickly. My health is never truly in danger. I don't need to have Bloodbath and Second Wind on my hotbar. It's just easy. But again, that's kind of okay, because that's just how the game is. But okay, I'll put it to you this way. Because I'm trying to make a case for having a challenging overworld in Final Fantasy XIV. So I'll put it to you like this: what if it was possible to set the instance that you're in to make fates have the difficulty of dungeon bosses, or to have the difficulty of dungeon enemies? How would that feel? What would that do to the game? Would that be interesting, or would that just be kind of dumb? That's the $1 million question. Would it be dumb to go into a fate in which the random hobgoblin runners that are trying to kill these angry villagers are the same strength as dungeon enemies? I don't know. Me personally, I think it would be kind of fun to just call up my buddies and be like, yo, we're going to level up a new class right now, and we're just going to go into the open world, and we're going to do expert fates or hard mode fates, where everything is more challenging, but we're just kind of mindlessly meat grinding on enemies. But we also have to pay attention and worry about not dying. Well, to be fair, I'm kind of running low on HP right now because I've been fighting nonstop. The enemies just kind of keep flowing in. As soon as I kill one, another one rises to take its place. And I'm pressing the wrong buttons again. Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, true north, 4, 5, and then we'll do that. So yeah, that's the $1 million question, and I would like to hear somebody's answer on that. Do you think expert mode fates would be interesting? Because I certainly do. That's the one. Oh, here we go. That's the one. Okay. Another thing that I've thought about ever since Final Fantasy XIV was released back in 2.0 is the Guildhests. I mentioned the Guildhest roulette being mostly useless because a Guildhest roulette gives you basically the same experience as a fate, which is fine, fair enough. But I don't do it a lot because it feels like a waste of time. But the Guildhests that exist in the game are some of the most creative encounters that exist in the game, and this kind of goes hand in hand with wanting a more challenging overworld. I really wish that the Guildhests had an expert mode or had a challenge mode where they raised the difficulty of the encounters to something on par with level 80 dungeons, with expert trials, because these encounters are really fun. So I guess the last thing that I'll do to wrap up the video, because I could kind of ramble about this stuff forever, is I'm going to do a Guildhest, and hopefully I get one of the cooler ones, because there's a lot of them, and some of them are a little bit boring, but most of them require you to engage with really interesting mechanics. So let's go in and do a Guildhest and see what we get. But you know, this goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about the leveling in Final Fantasy XIV being diverse. I just spent 10-15 minutes meat grinding on some fates, and I got 1.4 million experience. That is about 10% of my level. And now I'm gonna go do something else. And there's a lot of stuff that I can do on a daily basis to change up the pattern. Alright, here we go. We are starting our Guildhest roulette. Hopefully we get one that's in the mid-level range. Okay, we got one that's level 25, and I vaguely remember this one. I think we just have to destroy the goblins, makeshift barricades, and continue up the Matron's Leaf. Sup. Okay, so we have to kill some goblins and do some stuff and some things. But what I've always enjoyed about the Guildhest, and I was insanely disappointed when I found out that Guildhests only go up to level 40, was that they just make you do weird stuff in fun locations. Like right now we're I think we're in like Bent Branch Meadows or something, and we're climbing up some stairs and we got to break some barricades because the goblins are doing shenanigans over here. And I just think this is a fun environment to be in. And based on all of the cool stuff that I've seen the developers do with expert primals and even just hard mode dungeons and level 80 dungeons, I know that they could do some crazy creative stuff with the Guildhests for level 80 players, because we have so many skills at our disposal. We understand how to play the game. We're good. So I can just imagine the different level 80 challenges that could be thrown at us in a Guildhest environment, where they can just come up with creative stuff like, you know, escort the goblins or break their barricades with their own bombs or whatever. It's cool. It's really cool. And you know, like the environment that we're in right now is just completely different from the environment you experience in all of the current dungeons. There have been dungeons before that make you kind of run upstairs and put you in like mines and weird places. But in the current landscape of the game, you never fight in a place like this. And I would just love for at max level to engage with really kooky environments and strange enemies with crazy mechanics like these guys. Now granted, the mechanics that are involved with Stillflick's Grumbly Toss, he's not making me do anything complicated. He's raining down bombs, which is pretty normal. But again, at level 80, they could start getting nuts with the mechanics. If I could give the devs $1 million to just design 5 Guildhests for level 80, oh, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I'm broke, so that ain't happening. But anyway, though, I think that's gonna do it. Well, let me give out a commendation. Let's not be selfish. So that's gonna do it for me. Again, I could ramble about it. So many different things in Final Fantasy XIV kind of forever, but if you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know. Keep in mind that this type of video is not a replacement for overviews or impressions for the different jobs, because if we go into the list, I've still got to do my impressions and overview of the Dragoon. I've still got to do the Bard. I kind of don't want to do the Dancer, but I'm going to do it eventually. We got Thaumaturge sitting at level 26, Red Mage. Maybe I'll do the healers, but there's so much more stuff to do. And even for overviews, I'm working on the Monk overview right now. Got to do the Samurai. There's a lot more of the content that you're accustomed to seeing to do, but there's also other fun things that I would like to do and talk about with regards to Final Fantasy XIV and MMOs in general. So I hope to be able to talk about that with you guys, and I hope you do enjoy this style of more casual, freeform stream of consciousness, thought, explanation type stuff. So the name of the game is Final Fantasy XIV. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.